Hong Kong cinema has produced many exceptional crime films, especially those that successfully convey deep messages about real life. Protégé is a standout work that deserves a place among the classics. The film offers a raw and nuanced portrayal of the drug crisis in society, brought to life through vivid and compelling performances by the cast. Rather than focusing on explosive action, Protégé delves into the interwoven relationships and lives of the impoverished and addicted, grounding its narrative in realism. It transforms the themes of drug abuse and friendship into a gripping, emotionally charged experience, marked by the unique energy of director Derek Yee. The film opens with a stark, haunting image of a drug-addicted woman and her daughter living in a rundown public housing complex. This opening scene sets the emotional and thematic core of the story. The protagonist, Nick, played by Daniel Wu, is an experienced undercover cop who infiltrates a major heroin trafficking ring. The drug lord, Quan, portrayed by Andy Lau, lives a double life, posing as a humble electronics shop owner, while secretly being one of Hong Kong's most powerful narcotics dealers. Nick is a principled undercover police officer, but the brutality of the drug world seals his fate when he meets Fan, played by Zhang Jingch, a woman living in the apartment complex across from his own. Once involved in the drug trade, Nick finds that it begins to permeate every aspect of his life. At one point, Quan takes Nick for the first time to a drug manufacturing lab. After 7 years of building trust and regularly visiting Quan's family, it becomes clear that Quan sees Nick not just as a loyal disciple, but possibly as a future heir to his drug empire. Director Derek Yee masterfully weaves together the characters' relationships with professional finesse. Starting with Nick's friendship with Fan, he tries to help her and integrate himself into her daily life, mainly out of compassion for her young daughter, Ting Ting, an innocent child who cannot comprehend her mother's addiction. However, Nick soon discovers that Fan has been a long-term heroin addict. He makes the difficult decision to distance himself from her and urges her to go into rehab before it's too late. Zhang Jingchu's performance during the withdrawal scenes is incredibly vivid and raw, so realistic it becomes impossible to look away. One of the film's most haunting early moments shows Fan in a drug-induced haze while her daughter rushes in and tries to pull the syringe out of her arm, a deeply unsettling image that stays with the viewer. Protégé portrays the effects of drugs in an unflinching, realist style. It becomes painfully clear just how difficult and destructive addiction can be. In fact, Zhang Jingchu reportedly asked director Derek Yee if she could try a small amount of real heroin to better understand the feeling, but he firmly refused. At this point in the film, we're reintroduced to a familiar face in Hong Kong cinema, Louis Koo, who plays Lam Kun, Fan's husband. His return marks a turning point as he drags Fan back into her life of addiction. In fact, it was Kun himself who was indirectly responsible for her becoming a broken, suffering addict in the first place. It must be said that the cast's performances are outstanding. Louis Koo's presence powerfully underscores the desperate state of addicts, the way drugs compel people to surrender everything, even their very souls. Protégé stands out as a major effort from director Derek Yee to convey raw emotional realism to the audience. Meanwhile, Quan, Andy Lau's character, is aging and increasingly burdened by a serious kidney disease. As his health declines, he needs to find someone to take over the business, and Nick becomes the most trusted and closest person in his life. Nick sinks deeper into the drug operation, going so far as to revamp the entire system for transporting narcotics. In one major shipment inspection at a secret factory, Nick is sent by Quan to oversee the process. But this time he's caught in a police raid, and the drug warehouse is destroyed, resulting in a loss of over $6 million. Director Derek Yee skillfully stages this raid scene with a mix of grim humor, gritty violence, and escalating tension, gradually ramping up the stakes and keeping the story gripping as it builds toward its climax. This incident infuriates Quan. He begins to suspect those around him. With the warehouse destroyed, the only way to sustain the business is to meet directly with the suppliers, the drug lords of Thailand's Golden Triangle. This journey marks a pivotal transfer of power and a final test of Nick's loyalty. Director Derek Yee shifts the film's focus to Thailand, taking the audience on a journey through real opium fields in the Golden Triangle. The scenes depicting the processing and extraction of drugs are portrayed with sharp, striking realism. One particularly fascinating detail The drug lord that Quan and Nick meet was played by a former real-life drug trafficker. The following sequence is one of the film's most emotionally intense. Lam Kun sneaks into Nick's home to find Fan, who had been staying there as a safe haven before Nick left for Thailand. Of course, Kun has no intention of letting her return to a normal life. The result is a tragic and devastating scene. Fan dies from a drug overdose. Her body turns pale purple. Rats crawl over her lifeless form, and all of it happens in chilling silence beneath cold, purple-white lighting. It's a harrowing and heartbreaking moment. Looking back over the film, we realize that Fan's character was in constant internal conflict, fighting her addiction and despair. It's a performance that truly proves how talented Zhang Jingchu is. She brings to life a character that is both vulnerable and painfully human. Fan's death was a powerful turning point that pushed Nick to sever ties with Quan's criminal operations. He ultimately confessed everything to the police, exposing the entire network. The story concludes with a resolution that is satisfying and emotionally fitting, giving each character a conclusion that aligns with their journey. Protégé resonates deeply with the audience, evoking sympathy from multiple perspectives. Whether portraying inherently good or bad qualities, each character contributes meaningfully to the narrative and reflects a broader societal reality, one filled with poverty, pressure, and moral struggle. Director Derek Yee doesn't forget to highlight the genuine emotional connections between people amidst the chaos. In the final scene, Nick imagines seeing both Quan and Fan once again, a symbol of lost friendship, misguided affection, and the irreversible consequences of life's wrong choices. Protégé is not just entertainment, it's a powerful, original film that stands on its own. Beneath the devastation of drug addiction and bursts of violence, there remains a glimpse of innocence, embodied by Fan's daughter. The film closes with a hauntingly redemptive image. Nick prepares to inject heroin, but the little girl runs in and throws the syringe away. It's a moment of salvation, a spark of hope that perhaps not all is lost, and that fate still offers a chance to rise above.